Welcome to the Talkoffame podcast, a podcast where stories come alive and voices shine. Today we're tuning up the heat with a guest who's mastered the art of fighting for flavor. He's an assistant instructor and sales rep at Wilkes-Barre MMA by day, but by night he's the creator of the widely popular DiMattia's Food Fight Facebook review page and the host of Northeastern Pennsylvania's #1 food podcast. Brian DiMattia takes us on a mouth-watering journey filled with food reviews, restaurant recommendations, and spirited debates that dig deep into food culture. Welcome to the show, Brian. I'm so excited to have you on.
So much. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here. We finally got our schedules in line together to do
I
the episode.
know
Yes.
we finally
Yes.
got to do it. Like
Yes.
seriously, we've
Absolutely.
gone crazy the last couple of months and we just didn't know if it was even gonna happen.
I forgot you gave me you gave me some of the questions last night. I read it. I'm like, oh, it's all good. So the name of the gym now is Good Tree MMA. Used to be Wilkes-Barre MMA though. I love how I read over stuff and don't see it. Cracks me up sometimes. But Good Tree MMA in Wilkes-Barre and in Dunmore. We have 2 locations.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. Yep.
So to kick off this episode, so a lot of people know you from DiMattia's Food Fight. So tell us more about that and what inspired you to start it.
Absolutely. So, DiMattia's Food Fight, I was just telling you, December 13th will be its 2-year, I guess, anniversary or birthday. It used to be called DiMattia's NEPA Food Review. And then probably about 4 or 5 months into that, I decided I wanted to get rid of the NEPA to make it more mainstream, to make it, to be able to do more stuff. Because people make comments when I review stuff outside the area, they're like, this is why we don't like NEPA food pages because you do outside any NEPA. I'm like, well, I'm in Jersey or I'm in New York, there's food here too. So that got me in the mood to look into different alternatives. And a few of my friends, specifically Jim Maribelli from NEPA Pizza Review, shout out to Jim, he mentioned Food Fight. He's like, how about Food Fight? You're a fighter, you do jujitsu, all that kind of stuff. It makes sense. And then, here we are. I changed the name. I initially wanted to have like a food review news station, like a newscast station. That's how like my first reels were. Like I'm at a news desk. I have like the picture about the food, but it was hard to grasp people's attention in the beginning of the reel. So I pivoted from that. But I love doing local reviews. I keep my page positive when it comes to local mom and pop shops. I'll get into some bad reviews with like fast food and Burger King and chain restaurants, everything like that, just to keep it fresh. But when it comes to local mom and pop shops, no matter where I am, NEPA, New Jersey, New York, anywhere when it comes to food, Las Vegas, if I like the food, I just want to tell everyone about it. If I don't like it, who am I to rip into it? If I don't like pizza from this place or that place, like that's just my taste. They're in business for a reason. They've been popular for a reason. Because I don't like it, I don't need to tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, the page has been taken off, and I love to be part of the restaurant business still because I worked in it for a long time. I don't want to work in it anymore, but I like staying connected to it.
I'm the same way. Like for some reason, like everyone thinks that maybe it's one specific place is so good, everyone's gonna like it. Then one moment their pizza's probably like shit. Like no one likes it. And reviews are always
Sometimes,
mixed, don't
yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I've had some pizza from places around here that people love it. I'm just like, I don't like it, but I don't need to tell anyone about it. People think that I'm dishonest with my reviews or I owe it to the area to let them know where the bad pizza is. That's ridiculous. Why would I
I
lie about
know.
food? It doesn't make any sense.
And the problem
Does
is
it-
everyone has different opinions. Like everyone has different tastes in food. Like not everyone likes the same things. And that's the problem is that like everyone thinks like, oh, let's just say Brian doesn't like this pizza place. I'm not gonna go just because he doesn't like the pizza. And it can be very controversial in there's some ways like that. And not everyone has the same opinion. Some people are like, okay, well, if you don't like the food, but I like it, who cares? Like it always depends on what you are actually going for. And like, do you
Everyone
have
has
like,
different
a
tastes.
favorite restaurant here in NEPA? Because there's tons of like local businesses and everything in Pittston or whatever, but do you have a personal favorite?
Favorite restaurant. So I grew up in Old Forge, so I'm partial to my Old Forge restaurants when it comes to dinner. I like Rinaldi's Cafe or Cafe Rinaldi. I always say Rinaldi's Cafe, but Cafe Rinaldi. Pizza wise, Arcaro and Janelle's when it comes to Old Forge pizza. New York style pizza. I like that guy with the dough and music. They just reopened with new owners. And Joe, who the original owner is, he still owns a little piece of it. So the pizza is still exactly the same. Um, it's just such a loaded question for me to answer. It's so hard. I have like a top 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's literally
Yeah,
that's
it's
literally
just
me.
and then since I moved down here into the valley, down here in the Kingston area, I know it's not that far from Old Forge, but it seems like a whole different world down here. And there's there are a million and one restaurants in this whole valley down here. Like I live over here in Kingston near on Pierce Street, and like I'm surrounded by restaurants right outside my door. You know, so
Yeah.
it's very hard for me to choose number one. But if I had to go have an Italian dinner, I'm going to go to Cafe Rinaldi's in Old Forge. I'm going to have some New York style pizza. If I had to choose where I'm going to get it from, I'm going to have that guy with the dough in music. If I want some NEPA style pizza, when I coin that as like, Barazzi's pizza or Angelo's style or Jerry style, you know what I mean, with the sweet sauce on there. That like that dough is very specific to NEPA. I never seen it or have had it anywhere else outside of the valley. So I would get Barazzi's Pizza in Sawyerville for that NEPA style. Or Angelo's, the one and only, because that was my first ever sweet sauce pizza. So that's the rundown on those. I need to do some fresh reviews on Angelo's and Jerry's and Richie's. The
I know they're
trifectas.
all really good options. Like
Yeah.
honestly, I've been living in the Valley for 18 years and there's still a bunch I never seen or even heard of. But Cafe Rinaldi is literally top notch for me for some reason. Ever since I started going there, I literally became obsessed with their food. In their pizzas. Their pizzas are also top notch if you haven't had them. I totally recommend if you're from the Valley or visiting the Valley. It's literally about like 15 minutes from where I am, and it's like a slice of heaven.
Should order there.
Like I literally order there probably if I like could order anything for a week, I'll order Cafe Rinaldi every day for a week.
There.
So to go back to your podcast, so how do you prepare for each episode, especially those involving whether it's debates or competitions?
When I guests reach out to me to come on the show, and I also reach out to them to come on the show, of course. I I'll check out their social media. I'll have a conversation with them on the phone or through text messages. And I always have some general questions I like to ask them, get a good background on them. And then I put together, sometimes depending on the guest, sometimes I put together 20, 30 questions. And they're in the order that I would like the flow of the episode to go. Of course, anyone that's listen to my podcast, I go off script a lot. It's just certain things that we say to each other. It makes me go off script or ask different questions. So, I always have the questions right in front of me. So I always bring back in the conversation that gear towards the topics. So the questions are, in my opinion, they go from the most intriguing ones that I want to know about, and then I fill in the gaps with other questions just in case we run out of stuff to talk about. But it's never happened before because I talk too much. And usually my guests talk too much, so it's perfect.
Yeah, it's the same way
If
for me,
we're
honestly. If one doesn't talk, then another one has to.
Yeah, I always have some questions to ask. I always bring it back in for food. I try to have food for us to eat every episode. As far as debates go, probably the best debate will be the episode that's being released tonight. I had my guest is Jock Balls. He was the pianist for Motionless in White, big rock band. He also owns Dark Port Nor in Scranton. He owns the coffee place, Strange and Unusual Coffee Place in Kingston. He's also the owner of Parlor Root Beer, and I despise root beer. And our biggest debate was I drank his root beer on the show, and I didn't like it. And it was probably my first ever bad review coming on. It was posted this morning, actually. You go watch it on Instagram and Facebook. I did not like the Parlor Root Beer. I tried. I just couldn't get into it. But he was cool with me being honest about it, and we were, and it's released, so it was pretty funny. Um, but not too many debates on my show. We don't really get into politics because that could go different directions, and I'm not really vocal on politics on my social media. It's just not something I like to get into. I mean, I did post a picture of Donald Trump's face made out of food. He had like a
Wait,
tomato nose
really?
and like yeah, he had like tomato nose and like he was made out of turkey. It was just hysterical. I posted it on my food page, and people liked it. But I also got free messages from people telling me that cursing at me and telling me I'm a piece of shit because I posted Donald Trump. I'm like, I am like, there's no affiliation at all. It's just a picture of Donald Trump's face made out of food. It was hysterical. So
Is
people
it
get too
like a
crazy.
regular meme? It's not like, oh, you're like
Yeah,
endorsing a
it was
candidate.
literally Donald Trump's face out of lunch meat, tomatoes, and carrots. Like, relax. So that's why people get really fired up over stuff, and I just don't get into debates or politics like that. We'll debate
Yeah.
food. I'll debate food with you all day. I get idiots talking about pizza all day that they've never even tried before, but they know how it tastes. You can't know what something tastes like if you never had it before. So that drives
Why,
me
what's the
crazy.
point of debating about pizza if you never actually had it? It's a different story if you actually had the pizza, but who's the one talking if you actually didn't have this specific brand's pizza?
Oh, bozos. Oh, bozo trolls. And I love them for it. But it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't
Like
make any
it's a
sense.
part of like everyday society. Like if you don't get those reviews, then what's the point of doing it? There's a
I
bunch
agree.
of pages out there that do get it, but there's some pages who don't. And I'm glad I'm one of those pages, but thankfully that hasn't started up yet. But there isn't any pages out there that don't get at least one person.
Great person. That's the same person. So
I
I'm used to
know.
it though. It used to bother me. It used to bother me years ago. It used to bother me, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
Like it always has to bother somebody in the beginning. Like even if it doesn't bother anymore, like that's something that kills me is some comments like that. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, well, these are comments I'm gonna get if I'm doing this every single day, so I have to get over it.
Gotta be prepared for it. It takes a lot for me to block somebody on my social media. So I just laugh at them. There's no point because they're miserable, most likely. So they wake up like that. Think about it that way, Kylie. They wake up like that. They wake up miserable. It's
I
not you
know.
it's not you they're miserable about. It's them they're miserable about. And that's exhausting.
Yeah, that's a
Exhausting.
valid point. Like at one moment when I first read a comment, I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is this person thinking? That did it end of the day when I'm like actually thinking about it, I literally just laugh at it. Like think to myself, like, okay,
Exactly.
well,
That's what you
different
have to do. That's what you have to do. It's just it is what it is. And it's gonna move, welcome them to the page. If they get personal, I block them. But if they don't, that's it. Doesn't matter. It's all good.
Hey, at least like it takes a lot for me to block out someone on like Facebook or Instagram. But if it's something that is like stupid or like making stupid comments, I'm just like, nah, this is literally hilarious. Maybe it's someone
Yes.
that's my
Exactly.
brother's friends or one of my friends or something. But if it's someone that just repeatedly maybe gives soccer comments or just weird comments, I'm just like, screw this. Here, I'm blocking this kid. Even if it's like just
Sometimes
stupid.
some of them aren't worth it. Some of them aren't
No,
worth
like even if it's bothering you, like who cares? Like if you don't want this bothering you anymore, then just block it. It's not that hard.
it. Exactly. Exactly.
So with your podcast, like with the Food Fight podcast, why do you think it stands out as Northeastern Pennsylvania's number one food podcast?
I think it might be the only NEPA food podcast.
That's true,
Um,
actually.
so no one's done it before. And when me and Bill from On the Stacks decided that we were going to do something together when it comes to my own podcast, I mean, the best idea and the first idea and the only idea was to have it branch off from the Food Fight page. And, we did some marketing, we did some research, and, you know, there might be other podcasts that cover food and NEPA, but I honestly, I haven't seen any. I'm not the only Food Fight podcast. There's a few other with that name, of course. There's one called the Food Fight Podcast. There's one called Food Fight something, and then there's mine. This is Food Fight. But Food Fight, the name Food Fight Podcast isn't out there, so that's why I'll be changing my name to Food Fight Podcast. But everything's going to be the same. Some new artwork's going to be coming in, but I think what sets my show apart is the conversations. They're honest. I bring in interesting and intriguing guests that have fantastic businesses that are of value in NEPA, and I want people to know about them. And I bring guests in from New Jersey and from New York and outside of NEPA as well, because there's great food everywhere. And a lot of people, and I'm going to say this, and I believe it's the truth, a lot of people are food snobs, and they're stuck on certain areas and certain like that. And there could be definitely some food snobs in NEPA and outside of NEPA. I get the ones that they hate NEPA food for some reason. They think the food scene in this area isn't good. It's just it blows my mind. I'm like, where are you eating? I could throw a rock and hit three good places down in the valley, in Old Forge, in Scranton, in Taylor. There's so many. There's unlimited. I haven't even scratched the surface of doing my food reviews in this area, and the food podcast allows me to meet new businesses and new people that I never even knew existed in this area. Because one, they reach out to me, or I research for them, and it's just it's always a great conversation that comes out of the episode. Even when I don't, it seems that my best conversations are with the people that I don't know at all, that I just met for that first day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Because
that's what I find most for me is that I find better conversations with someone that I maybe don't really know, but I do
Mhm.
know who they are. Just because I'm just like, well, I talked with them before. I know who they are. I know what they're like. Now it's time to actually get some good conversation out of these people. But it always depends on the episode and what they actually do every single day is also a big solution as well.
I feel like the podcast Food Fight started off just at the right time. It's starting to pick up steam. Um, a lot of people from the outside the area, talk about it. So it's very exciting. It's just a great way for me to stay involved in the restaurant scene in the area. I absolutely love it. I enjoy everything I do with it. And I was talking to you earlier about it. I previously left on the Stacks Media. Just wanted to do my own thing. No bad blood. Everything's cool. Bill gave me his blessing. I'm going to have a new platform, new YouTube channel, new social media on Facebook. The same Instagram page is going to be just a different name. I'm not settled yet on the name. Probably Food Fight Productions will probably be the name of the company. That's not 100% yet. But I'm in the works. I'm making the new Food Fight studio and doing things on my own. I'm really excited. I learned a lot, and all my old episodes will be on my new platform. All the videos will be produced. They'll all be on there. All 37 episodes will be on the new platform, and also the new episodes that I'll be producing myself. So definitely excited for the future of Food Fight going into the
Yeah,
new
it's
year.
gonna be amazing, especially for the new
Mhm.
year. It's a great way to like relaunch the whole thing.
Yep. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be professionally produced with my partner Mike Rivera, who's going to be my videographer and my photographer. And it initially started off with me doing the company, him working for me. But the more we got to know each other and the more we got to talk, I'm like, you know what, man, that sounds like a partnership is going to be great in the beginning, because we're both invested into it, and we both bring different things to the table. And he's going to teach me how to work the cameras, how to do the video editing, and I'm going to teach him the other end, the marketing, the social media part. And then I think it's going to be a great partnership, and we're going to be able to feed off each other. And we both train jujitsu together. We're teammates. I trust him, he trusts me. It just seems like it's going to be a great partnership moving forward, and I'm really excited to get it started. Really
Definitely
excited.
will. And I can't wait to see all the new stuff you guys are coming up with the next year. I'm sure it's gonna be literally awesome. I've been
Yeah,
seeing like all the food fights and stuff on Facebook, Instagram, and you guys are literally putting the word out there in a good way.
I appreciate that. And this time, the Food Fight studio is going to be in my kitchen. So, where better place for a food fight studio to be than inside the kitchen? You know,
Hey, less
my
money
goal
you
is to
have to
have a kid.
pay.
Yeah, my goal is to have a kitchen inside the studio, but right now the studio's in the kitchen. and it's perfect. I can reheat food, make pizza in the oven. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my
Looking
gosh,
forward
that
to it.
seems
It's
so
gonna be
awesome.
yeah, it's gonna be, hopefully a few months here, and then I get my own. Then we get our own space. That's the plans moving forward. But number one goal is getting Food Fight up and running. So
Awesome. And if you need anything at all, feel free to let me know. I'm always
I
happy to
appreciate
help
that.
out
I
anyway.
appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. We could definitely help each other. So it'll be
Definitely.
good moving forward together.
Absolutely. So I think that is the best way to wrap up this episode. I really appreciate you, Brian, for coming on chat with us and talk to you, a little fellow NEPA resident. I love spotlighting as many NEPA people as possible. I know me and you have been trying to go back and forth with all of this, but I'm so glad me and you were able to finally have the time to do this.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure for sure. I'm glad we got the episode in.
So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure to connect with Brian. I'll put all of his links in the description below for you guys to check out with his podcast or his social media. I totally recommend. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. And thank